microphone is like right in my face. I gotta move that. It's like it's in my head. Where have
It's your
you
third eye. It's your third eye, girl.
It is my third eye. Where have you been?
Working, just working, trying to make a living.
Oh,
um yeah,
missed you.
I started the DJ stuff and it's just been nonstop since. And I'm like, this was partially what I expected, but I didn't expect it so quickly. That's the problem.
Really? Okay, that's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. Well, and I think I told you the guy who I'm working with, I used to work with him in radio. So like
Mm-hmm.
we've always had like a really cool, bond. And he's taught me
Yeah,
so much from radio. And then, once we got into this whole wedding DJ stuff, like it's just been, education and, webinars and all kinds of just different things, going to
really?
different weddings. Yeah. I've gone to like within the last month, I've honestly probably gone to like 10 weddings. It's crazy.
Stop it. Oh my God, you're like the wedding crasher. Like,
Yeah, basically at this point I kind of am crashing weddings. Like I go there, I'm training with, my guy, his name's Carson. I'm training with him, he's teaching me things and I'm not really doing much when I'm with him. Like I'm just kind of
Mhm.
standing around, but I will definitely get down on some of that like their food.
Yeah,
Like I'm not even there to celebrate with them, but like I'm learning and then I go and eat their food that they have there
right.
and then I
So
just stand around. So it's kind of weird. But
that's cool. Are you excited? Like, are you ready for that? Like, are you ready
um
to, get out there and be like, hey, everybody,
it's well, because you know
it's
what?
a
Like
party.
so I am training, but they have kind of thrown me out to a couple of different things that
Mm,
so like overall, I'm supposed to be a DJ and MC. So I should be
okay.
able to do the microphone. I should be able to do the lights, the music. I should be able to go outside and set up cold sparks, which are those like sparks that people walk through at the end of their wedding, so it's like
No.
all glamorous and stuff. So I should know how to do that. I should know how to do a DJ, or I'm sorry, a photo booth as well.
Wow,
So
this is like
I'm
really involved. Jeez.
Yeah, so I've been doing different things at different events, and I have gone to two events where I actually like was an MC. Actually,
Yeah,
yesterday I was at one where I MC'd,
that's
and
so cool.
it's been cool. Like I thought I was gonna be
Nervous?
worse and nervous, but I am so comfortable doing it, which is
Wow.
crazy to me because I've never felt we've talked about it in radio. I've
Yes.
never felt comfortable doing, live events or being on stage or doing that stuff. But now I'm just kind of like, I don't know if it's because of what I've learned in voiceover that
Yeah.
now I'm kind of just like, okay, it's just announcing, that's all I'm doing is announcing and
Yeah.
partially wrangling wedding parties and things like that.
Drunk,
But
a drunk,
yeah.
drunk
Oh
wedding
man.
party
So
people.
far, so far, I'm like, oh wow,
Yeah.
wow, wow, people. And then for some reason, the children, like, I love kids. I love kids. Like, another
Yeah.
part-time gig I have is, doing tutoring for
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
kids. I love kids, but for some reason, the kids at these weddings are I just want to shake them.
Oh no. I thought
I'm
you were gonna say that they're
sorry.
so cute.
No, well, they look adorable. They're always dressed up so cute. I love that. But they'll come in like the photo booth. Like one wedding I was doing, these two
Oh
little
God.
boys, they were probably about 5 or 6. They were so cute, but they kept coming back to the photo booth and taking photos. But it was the same photo with the same props in the same position every single time. And it was like maybe 10 times that they came back to the photo booth. And I just was like, okay, guys, you guys gotta have to back off. People, other people need to try.
Right.
And they were just like throughout the whole night, just coming back to me and taking that same exact photo.
The
So
mustache.
with the same mustache, the same little hat, like it was crazy. But
That's
that
so
was just
funny.
one example. And then yesterday, some little girl was trying to take our microphone from us, and oh, it was just the little kids can be a lot
Yeah.
compared to like the drunk, bachelors or whatever it is,
Right, right, right. It's
the bridesmaids and whatnot.
it's understandable
So
too that like a lot of people just say like no kids now. You know what I'm saying? I
yeah,
mean, and it's like valid. It's a valid point because it's just like an additional, I don't know, layer of complexity that you
yeah,
gotta
it
deal with.
is. It definitely is. And when it comes down to the ceremony part, which is another portion that we end up learning and how to,
Yeah,
you know, play the music for the person to walk into or play the music to come out of and all this other stuff. Like there is a lot of moving pieces to this thing, but
that's
having
cool.
kids in the actual ceremony is something I can understand people, saying, hey, no kids, because kids can be loud.
Yeah.
This yesterday's wedding, a kid hiccuped through the whole session.
That is awesome.
There was just hiccups in the background the whole time. I'm like, oh man, that's tough. So yeah, I can definitely see why people are choosing no kids. And another thing is like a lot of people are just choosing to have like a dance party. They're not choosing to do like all of the big like bouquet toss and all these different little things that
Yeah,
you
yeah.
do at weddings anymore. They just want to get their food, get their drink, and dance. That's
Yeah.
all they want to do now. So it's interesting to see the different types of weddings. I actually have a Jewish wedding coming up in October that I'm pretty excited about because I've never
Yeah.
been to a Jewish wedding. So I
No?
kind of want to see how it works. Yeah, I've never been. So I'm really excited because I get to see so many different weddings and how people celebrate in
Cultures,
their own cultures and
communities.
things
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. Yeah, it's so cool. It's so cool to see some of those different ones that
I have sorry, go ahead, go ahead, go
no,
ahead.
no, that's it, that's it.
I was gonna say I had like my college days, so you just brought me back. Like I just realized my college days, one of my girlfriends, her mom was like, she ran like a synagogue. So she did all the weddings for the
Too
Jewish
cool.
families that went there. So we would come back on weekends and get hired to work the weddings. And like we
Yes.
always worked the kids' table and they always were very elaborate. But we had free food because we were like
Yeah,
part of it was getting paid and and you made a little extra cash for beer money. And then you got food and you didn't have to cook it or shop for it or anything like that. So it was like it was and
right.
they were always very elaborate and always really good food,
Yeah,
so
some of them can be very, very elaborate, and then, like, yesterday is the one I did yesterday, very low key, very laid back,
cool.
like, halfway through the actual dance, the wife, the bride, she came back out in, like, jeans and his in sneakers, like,
Nice.
halfway through the actual dance, not even, like, you most, parties will wait until, like, maybe, like, the last 30 minutes to go change,
Yeah.
but this woman was like, "I'm out of this dress." I'm getting in my jeans, so
That's funny.
it's pretty cool. So I like it. I think it's gonna be good for me, just to kinda keep me stable and
Yeah,
just have that stability that
yeah,
I miss from, just having that stable paycheck from radio.
yeah,
It's definitely keeping me, like I said, more busier than I expected it to be,
yeah,
especially just because I'm new. I thought, because I'm new, it was gonna be like a slow training process, but no, they're throwing me to the wolves, and I think that has to do because, the guy who's training me knows, what
knows
kind of
you.
experience I have and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
he's just like, "Just get in there. You know what to do. You know where these cords go. Plug this one in. Do it. You know." He's like throwing
Yeah.
me to the wolves. So
That's awesome. That I feel like you're, like, lit up. Like, I feel like you are onto
thanks.
something that, like no, I mean, that's good because it's like, voiceover is tough and, like,
It
it's
is.
like a roller coaster. I was just saying this the other day. It's like such a roller coaster. It's like you're
Mhm.
high, 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 and then you're like low, 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 and
Uh-huh.
the grass always looks greener on the other side when you see other people, and then when you realize, like, they got their own shit going on, but it's nice to have, like, other streams of income coming in. Like, I'm doing production on the side for different
Yep.
people with, different podcasts. Like, that's my thing, but it's all, like, word of mouth. I don't
Mhm.
advertise it, and, like, you doing this, like, seems like it's just, like, fits right into your little puzzle piece, like, of what you got
It
going on,
does. And
and
I
I
didn't
just
think it would at first, I
yeah,
just was like, "Okay, I just need something." I know Carson's good for what he says, so I'm just gonna work with him and see what he can, get me into, but,
yeah,
now that I'm really learning stuff and, he's teaching me DJ skills and stuff like that, I'm just
yeah,
like, "This is kind of fun. I really do enjoy this, and it's fun to get dressed up and have a nice meal, you know,
yeah, and it's
to go
live
along with it."
announce. It really is,
Hi.
like, good
It
great
is live
training for a
announce.
live announce. Remember when I said that? I was
Mhm.
like, it's totally and it's probably even more different than just being, like, the radio personality, like, on the
Yeah.
stage announcing, like, a band or something. You know? I thought
Yeah.
maybe you would say that you were gonna get nervous because then, like, you've shared with us a couple really funny moments that you've had in, like,
Yep.
live events, but, like
They're horrible.
that's okay, everyone's drunk at weddings, so it's
Yeah.
fine, like, you just right
Exactly,
on.
Nobody's gonna
exactly.
remember.
Yeah, nobody oh, got the echo going on, girl.
Yeah,
Oh,
you're outgoing.
oh no. Okay, hold on.
You're so ethereal.
Yeah, you are, you're like, "Hello, I am the
Hello.
I'm
princess,
here.
queen."
Really let everybody know you're here.
Hold on.
You guys, yeah, no, it's okay. I'm really excited that you guys are here today, and Angela, I'm happy that you're back because like,
Yeah.
we've been kinda missing
Am I
you,
still
and
echoey? Yeah. Hold
yeah,
on.
you're a little echoey. But our guests tonight are the Common Mystics. So let's just chat about them a little bit before they pop on here real quick. We got a couple minutes. And Jen and Jill, they're sisters, right? So they're psychic and they're intuitive. And it's a generational kind of thing. So I'm excited to talk to them a little bit about really like how they are sort of navigating in their own regular lives, on the top of sort of honoring their gifts, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And their creativity in podcasting and psychic and following that path. Because a lot of times I think we get stuck as creatives where we're like, oh, I
Mhm.
can't do this. or that's too much, or I can't find the time, or how am I going to weave this into my life? I got too much shit going on,
Mhm.
And also it's just cool how they kind of go about their podcast. I don't know if you had a chance to listen to their podcast, but
Yeah.
it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And they're Midwest. So when
Yeah.
I listen to they're Midwestern. So when I listen to another podcast, the Skeptic Metaphysicians podcast, I was like, oh, they would be perfect. But this was like a year or so ago.
Yeah.
And I finally got a chance to like reach out to them. So they
Cool.
are a lot of energy. Like
Yeah.
just so I'm excited to talk to them about just what they got going on. Have you ever done that? Have you ever been there, especially with like weddings and stuff? Have you ever like walked into a store or driven past a town or you're someplace and you just get like a vibe or
Oh,
a
yeah.
feeling,
Yeah, definitely.
you
Definitely.
believe,
And part of me is like, is just is this me being weird, or
right?
am I really feeling something? So I think that's huge questions for myself. And I think a lot of people is like, am I catching these feelings because, you know, I'm just in my head, or am I catching feelings because I'm really feeling a vibe that's here?
Right, right.
Um, I went to Sedona, Arizona, which is
I
known
totally want to
for
go.
it's beautiful. It is so
Vortexes.
pretty. Yeah, it's known for like its vortexes and like it's just high energy spirits
Wow.
or energy out there. And
Yes.
it was fun. And I was with a good friend of mine, and we just felt happy to be
Yeah.
there, but we didn't really spend a lot of time there. I really want to go back and like, stay the weekend, because it was like a day trip and we left and, came back, but we got our
Yeah.
aura. She got her aura photographed.
Oh, wow.
I
No
had my
way.
cards read. Yeah, so it was super fun. Super fun. I love that place. I really want to go back.
I totally wanna go
I
to Sedona. That was on my list this summer, and I
Yeah.
wanted to go do the pink Jeep tour.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's
Yeah, like, yeah,
fun.
I was like, I was in it to win it. Jennifer, hi, it's nice to meet
Hello.
you.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hi. Nice to meet you all as well. Thank you for having me.
It's so
Yeah.
great to put a face to a voice. You've been in my ear for a while.
Ah, well, thank you. We
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Is your
I
sister
think,
coming along too?
yes, she is not with me, so she'll be logging on in just a few minutes.
You're
Cool.
totally fine.
Oh,
We were just discussing how, like you have these moments where like you go different places or you're in a store or you're walking down the street or you go someplace new and you think like you get a vibe and then you're like, nah. And you guys have just
Right.
taken that and just launched it into like outer space and just like beefed it all up. It's like so cool.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
yeah, and I mean, we can get started. I was just talking about how I caught you guys on the Skeptic Metaphysicians podcast
Oh,
like
yeah.
a while back. And I'm like, hey, they're Midwestern. No way. I could totally tell.
Yeah, a
When
little
you-
bit, huh? The
yeah,
accent that
yeah,
give it
when you
away.
yeah, and just like the vibes too. Like when you know, you know. Like if you're
Yeah,
Midwestern, you know. And
perfect.
I just thought it was so cool that you guys like get in your car, follow a vibe, and then it takes you someplace. And the reason why I reached out to you guys is because this is something that we all talk about. We're on camera and voiceover. We're all creatives, right? And we're all
Mm.
obviously podcasters. And you guys are sort of like the epitome of people that have generational gifts, natural gifts, and regular lives that you have to navigate through. And a lot of creatives are like, nah, I don't have time to do this, or I'm not going to fit this in my life, or I'm not going to go for it, or I'm just going to blow it off. And you guys literally get in a car and like drive someplace, and follow
Those
your
feelings. Yeah.
yeah.
yeah,
And so that's why we want to bring you guys on and you guys have to share with us about how you guys got
everything.
started. Yes, everything. Thank you, Gabby.
It's so
And
good to meet you
everyone.
guys.
And
And
everyone.
everyone. Yeah.
Meet you. It's great to meet you too. Yeah.
Nice to
Yeah.
meet you too.
Yeah, so we're sisters. So we grew up in Chicago. I'll give you a little bit of that South Side accent.
Chicago.
And we had an interesting upbringing because our mother was a single mom who had 4 girls. And because she was a single mom, she relied heavily on her family to help raise us. And her mother, our grandmother, whom we grew very close to, was from rural Poland and was brought up in this rich tradition of earth magic and Catholicism.
Okay.
And so she brought that to Chicago where we lived, and when we spent time with grandma, we absorbed it, you know, all of the spells that she would do. She would talk to dead people. Like that was grandma's thing. You would just be sitting in her kitchen with her, and she would suddenly stop what she was doing and look up at something you couldn't see. And she'd say, someone's here for me. They need prayers. And then she would just get up and just go into her bedroom, and she would just pray the rosary for any spirit who wandered in. Grandma wasn't, she didn't really speak English very well. She spoke broken English. So communicating to her about what she was doing, number one, there was a language barrier because we did not speak Polish, but also she was very private because
you didn't ask.
She would shut you down. In fact, if you asked her like, okay, grandma, who are these people? Do you know these people? And what exactly are you doing for them? And why do they need these prayers? Right. She would just kind of shoot you down and say, what are you writing a book or something? You know, like, why do you need all the details? And yeah, the other thing that we learned is that you don't talk about it outside the house, you know, so she wasn't going to share the information, but you know, we grew up in that sort of environment where, you know, we were always around psychics. Our mom was an astrologer. So she, you know, and this was back in the day before you had programs, computer programs where you can just type in people's, you know, place of birth, time of birth, and then it'll spit out this entire chart. Well, my mother used to lay down on the floor in our rec room with these old books fanned out in front of her, and she would do the math and chart the planets on this, you know, piece of paper with a circle on it. And so that was her gift. But her sister read tarot, and we were always around psychics. They were always coming to the house. We went
spiritual
to
healers, coffee gown readers, shaman. If there was a crying Madonna anywhere in the Chicagoland area, we were there. We were crying.
We went to all the churches.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was the environment we grew up in. What I miss, Jill?
No, I mean, you did great. Other than I would tell grandma, I would be like, keep them by you. Because at certain times in our lives, we all lived with her. So I was like, just as long as they know specifically who they're coming to see, like, I don't want them wandering, like ending up upstairs, like keep them by you.
Well, that makes me wonder, like, did grandma kind of shut you guys down because protection wise, or is it, you know, she didn't think you guys were ready for this, or what?
No, she shut us down just because you don't question. You don't question grandma. You just don't question her. So like if we were asking questions, she would be like, no, just stop like, talking. Who are you?
None your business.
Yeah. You'd be like, go do something. Like,
so grown folks business.
Exactly.
So interestingly enough, like, so obviously, like, when did you guys kind of like come into your like psychic, spiritual, intuitive, like, you know, selves and gifts? Yeah. You know, if you weren't really practicing when you were younger.
I'll talk about Jill. Because we grew up in the same house, but we had different experiences. I'm 7 years older. I was the oldest of our mother's girls, and Jill was the youngest. Okay. So we're the bookends of the four. And Jill was different from the very beginning, from a toddler. Truly.
It's funny that she says this because like usually it's not a compliment. Like in our house, like if you're like, oh, you're different.
You're different.
You're different.
Yeah. You're just different.
I get that one.
That's a true story. She would walk in, she would just like go into a room by herself and just be by herself and talk to nobody. She would just, you had imaginary friends. Tell them about your imaginary friends.
Lady Timmy and Alice. They were great. They were fun to hang out with. I liked them better than my sisters. So I would just hang out with Lady Timmy and Alice and it would be fine.
And in hindsight, Jill, you recognize now that those were spirits that were hanging out with you. Yeah.
Right.
Was that all at the same time? Like Lady Timmy?
Explain, Jill.
There's three. Well, Lady was more of like an adult. Like she felt like a very protector, and Timmy and Alice were more like kids. And I had a super crush on Timmy, and we would just hang. And I was young. Yeah, it was just it's just games.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay,
that's pretty cool.
But my mom never told me no. My sisters would ask, like, like they never shamed me. It was just a thing. Like Jill and her imaginary friends. you know, and it kept me out of trouble. It kept me from being annoying. Like kids nowadays, like always want attention. I did not. I was so happy living my own thing, doing my own, like getting my own feels on. I did not need anyone's attention. And like if I was interrupted, I recognized that I was being interrupted. Do you know what I mean? Like it would like it was harder to like communicate when I had to deal with other people.
Huh.
Yeah.
So Jill was always connected. Jill was always connected to spirit from a very young age. And then that's just how you, Jill, you lived your life.
So Jennifer, being the oldest, she had a lot of responsibilities. And she basically raised us. So she didn't have time to like, I was able to like wander off and like get my feels on with like spirits, whatever. But Jennifer was literally the oldest that had to make sure she had to make sure that I was dressed. She had to make sure that I didn't like literally like didn't ruin something in the house because I was like drawing or something. And if anything happened to me, Jennifer, like they wouldn't even address me. Like if I fell or if like they would always like anybody, even my husband will be like, well, where the hell was Jennifer? Like, like if I twisted
even to
my
this
ankle,
day.
yes, it happens even to this day. So like Jen didn't have the luxury that, and Jennifer is really good she has a very logical side of herself where she is able to, she's able not only to do things perfectly, but she demands it of herself. So it's very time consuming. And we literally grew up in chaos. Like, so the only thing that I feel like made me normal is my ability to tap out and just chill with spirit. Well, Jennifer's abilities were really like, I need to focus hard and get out of this because this is not how I want the rest of my life. So besides being a single mother, Jennifer, to 3 younger kids, but also she was like getting educated and was really like, I'm do not want to live like this forever. So it wasn't until 2012 when our grandmother died that because Jennifer was everyone's favorite, to be honest. You were. It's true.
There's always one. There's always one.
There's always a favorite. And I don't mind saying that she was my favorite too. It's
and
true.
the troublemaker. There's always a troublemaker and the one that everyone loves.
There's a couple.
We have plenty of troublemakers.
But the black sheep in our family is Jennifer because she's the good one. Like literally.
Yeah.
So
on their side.
I would like, just for fun, we would get our feels on and go to cemeteries, like to spend time with our mom. If mom was depressed, I'd be like, you want to go to a cemetery? But it's what we did.
It's beautiful.
So
it's beautiful.
And like, at least you're not dead. But so for a long time, Jen and I would like just go around and like, I live near a cemetery, so we would like walk to the cemetery. Every time when we're drunk, me and my friends end up at the cemetery by my house. I don't know why. But on one day on the way back from the cemetery, it was right after grandma died and Jen was just spending time with me in Michigan. And we were having a conversation about like, because I'm all like, you can do this. You've been doing this your entire life. Like, just like grab onto your birthright and run with it because it's fun. And I want a psychic sister friend. I was like, and she was all like, now that grandma died, she felt like she had someone on the other side to control the flow of energies. Whereas before grandma had passed, she felt like, who am I talking to? But now that grandma was on the other side, she felt as if she had someone stable there that she can rely on. And then she like, I've never seen someone blossom so quickly. Like she was giving readings of like, she was just pulling friends. I have a lot of people in spirit that pass, a lot of which Jennifer doesn't know. And she was just reading and then she was all comfortable. And now she's psychic AF and it's annoying because it's like, that was my thing. Why are you copying all the time?
I love the dynamics, especially that you guys get in a car and then one's taking notes and one's driving and, I just love it. By the way, do you guys have like snacks and drinks? Like, are there certain things that you need to have? Yes. Like, do you guys pack a bag? Like, are you overnight? Like, are you on the road and overnight? Or like, is this like a day trip? I know this is like 25 questions in one, but like, I have so many.
Both. It's both. So like, if we're just like in Chicago, we usually don't like pack a bag, like, but we always have water. If we're going long term, like if we're doing like overnight long trips, just getting in the car and go, we definitely need jerky. What else do we have? We have water, we have jerky, we have hint water. We have some kind of candy,
some kind of candy. But there's a lot of fast food. We do a lot of drive-throughs.
I know. I've gained so much weight during this. Yeah, a lot of Taco Bell.
Taco Bell. Love
Oh.
Taco Bell.
Taco
Nice.
Bell. And make a run for the border for Taco Bell.
One of our fans sent us a food card, a gift card.
Oh, that's
Nice.
That's really
Very
cool.
We got Dairy Queen, and then we got Taco Bell. And my husband saw the Dairy Queen gift card. He's like, "Do you have a Dairy Queen credit card?" And I'm like, "And what if I did, Chad?
Yeah.
What if I did?
Right?
Can't use it."
So walk
That's
us
so cool.
through this. Like, so you guys discovered your gifts. I mean, and you decided like, hey, let's just get in a car and let's just drive someplace. Like, is it like, do you get hits ahead of time, like in dream sequences, or you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like, are you like sitting, like you guys have day jobs, right?
Yeah,
Like,
we have day
Yeah.
jobs.
okay, like,
We
so
have-
let's talk about that. Like, yeah.
so well, we did this for fun, like for
Mhm.
like just like a game,
Sister
like,
time.
yeah,
Just-
that's
we would
what we
just-
do.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay,
Before the
alright.
podcast, we would just get in the car and be like, let's find some ghosts. And
yeah,
we would just
we're not
go.
kidding. That's really
It's for real.
Wow.
yeah.
And then we'd always end up someplace really cool, like a historic site
A
or an
women's
abandoned
prison.
prison.
Oh my
Yeah, the women's
God,
prison.
yes.
Yeah.
the
Wow.
We'd
abandoned
always find something really
schools.
cool.
Yeah,
What, Jill?
the abandoned
Jill?
school.
Mhm.
Nice.
She doesn't like
Yeah.
to talk about it, but she went into the abandoned school with me. It was pretty cool because
Which
she's
one
so
was-
straight laced.
Which one has been your guys' favorite? Like, or memorable?
Memorable. I think for me, I would say Rome City, Indiana was pretty friggin' off the hook. What about you, Jen?
Wow.
Tell them why Rome
Yeah, I was
City,
gonna say
Indiana.
Oh,
was off the
sorry.
hook.
Sorry. So Rome City, Indiana is like nowhere armpit, Indiana. No offense, Rome City. Sure, you're great. But it's
Indiana.
not like some place that you're going to be like, I'm going to Rome City. It's like you're passing through it.
Yeah.
Right.
And we stumbled on this huge structure that was like old and with like old limestones and like that kind of physique or like facade on the outside. And as soon as we drove up, we felt like we were in its shadow. And I touched the wall, like the outside of the wall, and I was like, I just had the word foreboding. And now
I'm chilled.
that's not a fancy word, but it's not a Jill word. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not like, this is foreboding energy. Like, I'm like, that's not me. I was like, I would be like, this place is haunted AF. Like, we need to leave, but foreboding. And we had different impressions there. One, we knew we were scared, like for real. Like, it was a presence. I wouldn't say evil, but it was very oppressive.
Mm.
And then on that same property, you walk away from it, there was like signs to go see the stages of the cross. Now, if you're
Stations, yeah.
Catholic, stations of the cross, if you're Catholic, growing up in Catholicism, you would go and pray and meditate at every stage of Jesus's crucifixion, which is the stages of the cross. So we're like, oh my God, Jesus is here. Thank God. So we go down this like hill to try to find Jesus. And then there's this beautiful, large grotto of the Blessed Virgin. And then literally that was like, we felt at peace. We're like, oh, you know about this place. Like, I was like,
Right.
Blessed Virgin, do you know what's happening in that building? Like, it's some scary, like AF. Then after doing the research, we found out that a nun had a Marian experience on that location because she was several times attacked by the devil at that location. So the Blessed Virgin came and was like, oh, we're good. You're like, don't worry about it. But the interesting thing about it, it's usually what happens when Jen and I are doing this for the podcast, is it had some relevance for today. And that specific story that year, like months before, the Catholic Church deemed the Sisters Marian experience to be valid, but not actually a Marian experience. Like, she was a good kid, she's a good nun, but I don't really think the Blessed Virgin was there. So like there was this whole controversy and like going back and forth judgments based on this nun's experience, like 6 months prior to us or before us being there.
Wow. Okay.
Mhm.
And
Wow.
so you guys do
Amazing.
research after. So like you get in the car. Do you ever get like a hit or like something that draws you to a place, before you get in the car, or do you actually just get in the car? And is there like a set day, or is it like sporadic,
Well, we live in
That was
two
a lot, too.
different cities. Jill is
Oh,
in,
right. You're in Chicago.
she's in Battle Creek, Michigan, and I'm
I'm
in
north of
outside.
Battle Creek, Michigan, but you
I
guys
know Battle Creek. I know
okay,
Battle
thank
Oh,
Creek.
you.
okay. Okay, got it.
Okay.
I was in
And
Kalamazoo.
I'm outside of Chicago.
Oh, okay.
For like
Yeah,
20
so
years.
I'm in Berry County.
Okay. I'm
So
not
I'm
in
like,
Kalamazoo anymore. I live in Florida, but I lived there
oh,
for
now
like
you're
20
showing
plus
up.
years. Yeah.
She's like, I did my time. I'm out.
Yeah. But anyway, so you're
Yeah.
in
Sorry, go ahead.
Chicago. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm outside of Chicago in one
So
of
a
the
little bit of
suburbs.
planning, a
So
little bit of planning.
so we have to plan on, we always have to determine where our starting point is at the
Yeah.
very least. So we have to go somewhere and start. And then the first thing we do when we get in the car is we ask the spirits, we set our intention and we ask the spirits specifically to lead us to a verifiable story.
Yeah. Go on.
Previously unknown to us, that allows us to give voice to the voiceless spirits.
I love that. Yeah.
And that starts it. And then from there, we're driving blind. I'm usually in the passenger seat and Jill is usually driving.
Oh,
And
I was
we just
reversed.
say whatever comes into our heads and we honor it, whether or not we know it has anything to do with, the intention and the story. And I just take copious notes of everything that we get, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, go ahead.
When we
Jill.
get out of the car, we walk around, we usually separate. So if we're drawn someplace or we feel like we should stop or check something out, we'll get out of the car, we'll separate. I'll usually document my impressions with pictures. I'm really big on taking pictures just so I can document where we were, when we were there, and the notes app on my phone. And then I share them with Jennifer. So when we get back in the car, and then
we navigate by what we call breadcrumbs, because we're obviously trying to get information for the story, right? So we'll get a lot of times Jill will get movie scenes in her head, or we might get a voice, something talking to us, telling us something, visions. Sometimes we might actually be interacting with spirits. That happens too sometimes. But when we navigate by breadcrumbs. So in other words, one of us will say or get some information, and then it'll be validated by our surroundings.
Yeah.
So a good example of that is I was in the passenger seat and I'm hearing a voice in my head say purple petunias, purple petunias, purple petunias. And then we turn onto a street and there's this park and it's covered in these baskets. You know how they do the hanging baskets in the little towns, all purple petunias. So immediately I knew, stop, Jill, stop the car. We need to go to that park. Right. And so that's just an example of a breadcrumb.
Yeah. I love that. I just really quickly, I love that because it's like a lot of people just wouldn't even follow those breadcrumbs. You know what I'm saying? They would just stop themselves right in the tracks and just be like, and logic it right out of their brain, And I just think it's so fascinating that you guys are just like, you're in it and you accept it and you just like work with it. I love that. Go ahead, Angela.
Well, I now that you're saying that, I have another question.
Oh yeah, you're welcome.
But my first question was like, besides like using your photos and your notes app and stuff, do you guys use your other tools? Like you said you read tarot, and like I know there's like those voice boxes that you can use, and all those stuff that people use in the equipment. Do you guys use a lot of that stuff too?
So we're not paranormal investigators.
Right. Yeah.
So we've played around with it, but when we're doing work for the podcast, what we're really looking to connect with are spirits that are on the other side that have crossed over, and not so much like ghosts, right?
Or lower energies.
Yeah.
Because the difference is that ghosts are very dramatic and they don't know how to use our clair senses. So like ghosts, they're the ones using the voice box. They're the ones like opening, closing stuff to get our attention. But spirits that are of the light know how to utilize our clairs to give us information.
Okay.
So that leads into the second question because of Jaws as well. Is like, how do you know? Like, I feel like I talk to myself all the time, but then there's times where I'm all like, was that me who said that? Or, is somebody else answering my question that I just asked? Like, how do you know? How do you know you're using your given
your senses? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's such a good question.
What's the word again?
Your clairs. There's clairvoyance. Yeah.
They're called clairs.
Audience,
okay, so how do you know how do you know you're using your clairs then?
And not crazy.
Well, that's part of the reason why the name Common Mystic. So we are of the belief that everyone has this ability, and the only thing that makes us different is that we grew up in a space and time that was nurturing of those abilities, or at very least not like shutting it down, right? But the way that we discern between our clairs is Jennifer, do you want to take it away? She's the teacher of the two of us.
No, you go, and then I'll pipe in.
So usually, for me at least, we we developed an assessment, and we really sat down. We thought about, how is it that we know that we're using our clairs, right? And how do we discern between the two? So for me specifically, spirit usually comes to me without emotion. I'm very dramatic, just like in life. So if I get like a message without, like, totally void of emotion, I know that that's not Jill brain.
Can you give an
Jill
example
brain,
of that, please, Jill?
A good example of that is I had gotten well, I was in my car with my friend, and I knew we had to turn around, even though we were in a scary situation, and I heard "go back." So I said to my friend, I'm like, we have to go back, just knowing that it wasn't, because Jill brain was like hauling ass out of that situation.
Like, we can get out of here.
Yeah,
we can
like,
do this.
We're out, like Jill out. And I was like speeding away. And then I heard the voice, "go back." So I knew that that wasn't me, because Jill was gone. So that voice was like, no, 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 go back. But also it helps to know the way I think, like the way I think personally, just like, even just as a person, I have anxiety issues. I take medication for anxiety. So part of that is, when I have something in my head, I think, why am I thinking this? And then I follow back the thought, the origin. So I go back, I'm like, oh, I was thinking of Judy yesterday because I saw da 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 da, and I can like line it back. If I can't do that with a thought, then I know it wasn't a Jill thought.
Interesting.
Okay. Interesting.
The other thing too is that oftentimes there will be other indicators in so you have more than one clair. It's not just clairvoyance or seeing, clairaudience or clear hearing. There's also clairsentience, which is feeling, right? You have a feeling, and their claircognizance is when you just know something. You just know something, and it's crystal clear, and it's detailed, and you are 100%, you know it, but there's no logical reason for you to know it. Right. So a lot of times, if you hear a voice and then you have another experience, such as that feeling or that knowing, when it's combined, right? Know, that is a good indicator that it is spirit trying to send you a message, and not just your brain.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So you have to pay attention to yourself and your own brain, like Jill said. Jill is a very emotional person. So when Jill has a thought that's very calm, you know what I mean? Like,
that
go
sticks
back.
out. That sticks out. The calm thoughts really stick out.
So what is it for you, Jennifer? Yeah.
Well, and I was going to say, I have a method of when a thought comes into my head and I'm not sure if it's spirit or if it's my own brain, I'll honor it, and I'll say thank you, and then I'll push it out. But if it's spirit trying to get my attention, it will keep coming back. And I can't just push it out. Like, it will keep coming back. But I've also had experiences like Jill, where I was in a situation that was very heightened in emotion, and I heard something that was very calm. And I knew that wasn't me, because in the moment, and what I was doing was I was walking my dogs around a corner, and there was a pit bull in this fenced yard. And I'm very anxious. My dogs are my babies. I don't have children. My dogs are my babies. Okay. And so I was like on the grass, and I was trying to keep them away. And this pit bull is a big pit bull, and the fence is rickety. And I turned the corner, and in my head, I heard, "The dog is going through the fence today." Just calm like that. And just then the dog busted through the fence.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
It was fine. It was, and that's the other thing about spirit. Like, that's not very freaking helpful, spirit.
I
You know what I
know,
mean?
right?
Like, it's a little late to be warning me. Like, I'm turning the corner. I'm
Like
right
5
here.
minutes ago would have been good.
Where's my go back?
Right?
Where's my go back?
But the good news is, like, the dog wasn't aggressive. I assumed it was, because it was big and loud, but the dog seemed embarrassed. Like, it had, because it didn't belong. It knew it didn't belong outside the fence.
He was like, too far.
Yeah, right. Across the line. So it was fine, but that was a situation where I'm not normally, a super emotional person, but in that situation, that was spirit, and if I hadn't gotten that, I might have reacted differently, but I knew spirit had my back, because it had sent me that message right before it happened.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Okay, so I have a quick question for you guys. Like, obviously you live in 2 different states, Illinois and Michigan. So you have to, like, strategically find a time to get together and have sister time, and then go on your little, I feel like it's like a choose your adventure. You guys remember those books? Like,
Yeah.
that's
I
what
love
it feels
those.
like.
That
I love
is
those,
fun.
right? I love those
love that.
books. But it's like, okay, so do you ever, like, you're apart I mean, you obviously get drawn to different things or you're connecting to different things, but do you feel like you're like more like, for lack of a better word, powerful or like magnetic when you guys are together, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
we
like,
can make shit happen.
yeah,
Literally. We
yeah,
Yeah, that's
we
true.
do. And I always feel like I'm better with Jennifer. Like we were talking to a fellow podcaster and she's like, "Well, how do you guys do the outlines?" Everything I do is better when Jennifer is involved in it, like just looks it over, and I just feel the same way. Like when we're together, what the energy that we provide evens each other out and amplifies in some way.
yeah.
It
Yeah.
does. And we have to be careful because we do accidentally manifest sometimes just by getting
Yeah.
together and getting in the zone and talking about what we
Even if it's
want.
wine zone, like we'll be
Yeah.
sipping on wine and be like, and just talk about what we want. And then
And then
our
shit
clumsy
happens.
asses manifest on me like, needed to be more careful.
Yeah.
What about your day-to-day stuff, like in your like day jobs and your families, you know, and your husbands and your like
Oh,
extended
my
family? Like,
husband.
do you guys get like stuff? Like, do you guys have stuff happen and then you feel like, well, you're in the middle of like doing your job and you're like, I can't leave, like I can't go. Do you have spirits that are like insistent, or you're like, okay, take a seat, you know,
Oh, no, no,
get
no,
on
no.
the guest list?
So part of like I use spirit all the time. I think Jen does too, but I use spirit all the time just to like live my life. Like, you know what I mean? Like, where's the parking space? Like I cheat at games. Like if I'm paying like games with my in-laws, I'm cheating. I'm like, shh, and they know it too. They're like, no hexes. And I'm like, I can't stop it. But like when we are like living our lives, there's very seldom situations where I feel like I have to stop and like honor a spirit in a way. Like I activate that part of my awareness as well as I shut it down. So sometimes I'm like, oh, no, 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 no. Like, and it's just as easy as telling someone, like, I know it sounds fantastic because we're talking about things that we can't see, but
Yeah.
it's such a metaphor for real life. Like if someone's like, excuse me, miss, and you're in the middle of something, you're like, give me a moment. I need to finish. Like
Yeah.
I'm doing something.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. The
Yeah.
same thing with the clairs. It sounds fantastic. Like, oh, but all your senses are going off all the time. We're seeing each other. We're hearing each other. Nothing happens in a vacuum, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same experience. I'd say it's like you don't eat pizza and only like smell it. You taste it, you
Yeah.
touch it, you
Yeah.
see it, you can
Yeah.
hear it, like, you know, the oven opening or whatever,
Right.
or the doorbell ring. So
It's interesting. Angela, you have a question?
I
see
do.
it.
So you guys, it's on my face.
Uh-huh.
So you guys grew up with, you know, like you said earlier, with, you know, this just being a part of your lives and a part of your families. For those who hadn't grown up like that, and I don't know if you guys do or not, but like, is there ways to practice your clairs
Oh,
in a
good
special way?
question.
And like I said, you guys grew up with it, so it's just natural for you guys to practice, I guess. But for other people who are still trying to figure out, am I catching this right?
well, Angela, I'm glad you asked because for $25 a month on our Patreon, no, we
Rock
do
on.
have it's literally $25 a month. We have a monthly call and we do monthly podcasts for our tier 4 participants where we assess where they're at as far as how they're using their clairs, like what part of the awareness they're at. So basically, spirit's always on. If you're not feeling connected, it's because your awareness isn't at spirit, right?
Right.
It's like you're just not paying attention to it. So we assess how your awareness is. We assess how.
Mm.
Oh, we lost Gabriella.
Yeah, she's okay. It happens all the time. It's chaos.
We assess whether or not you're activating that relationship, how you're translating the information you get, and if you're having continuous communication, actual
Awesome.
communication. So
Okay.
we go
Oh,
through
that's
that.
interesting.
Did I miss anything, Jen?
Yeah, no, just we're doing, like Jill said, through Patreon, our tier 4, we're doing monthly calls. And we've actually been focusing on activities to develop the different clairs and just like bring awareness and, you know, just practice them in a safe space with people who really believe that this is happening, you know, and then after we do the clairs, we'll be, you know, moving on to the chakras, but everything is recorded. So if you're, you know, say you can't, or you're not comfortable joining the live Zooms or you can't make it, everything is recorded so you can go back and do the activities on your own. But yeah, you absolutely can practice.
Awesome. That's
No,
cool. I love that.
I have a question too. Like when you guys are following you're finding a voice for the voiceless, right? Which I think is like really cool. And you guys do research after the fact, right? After you get
Right.
your hits and you take all your notes and you sort of assess the situation. Do you guys ever like have a voice that is like a spirit that like comes home with you? Like
Yes. Yes.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely. In a good way and in a scary way.
Okay.
So like sometimes it's kind of like an investigator, like you see like investigative shows where like the investigator, the detective just can't let it go. It's something like that I would align it to, but also it's the research is intuitive because we really have no starting ground. We're just
Yeah.
getting on the phone and researching our hits, like they came out of our brain. And
Yeah.
so we have to use our intuition to navigate through those hits. But also, if we're off, the spirit that is kind of directing us, kind of the same way they're directing us in the car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
But yeah,
question-
Jennifer, Jennifer
ahead.
had James Beckworth all over Jennifer. There was another Angie in Angie from we were in Wisconsin. I don't remember the town. But
Mhm.
Angie,
Yeah, she had
Jennifer
been
was like
murdered.
straight up like redlining it. Like I was worried about Jennifer. Like she couldn't sleep. Like every time I was talking to her, she was like, but Angie, I'm like, okay, you need to just like take a step back. We were like, we'll get
Yeah.
it.
Wow.
Yeah, sometimes a spirit will just be really like all up in your grill in a way that because they really want their story to be told, and we feel a responsibility to get it right.
Mhm.
So we're listening and we want to get it right, but it can become a little bit
Overwhelming?
obsessive, a little unhealthy
Yeah.
if you don't turn it off after a while.
Do you ever, Gabby, did you have a question? I feel like you had a
Yeah.
question.
What was I don't know, like a beautiful experience that you had where it gives you like the shivers and makes you want to cry, like it kind of like satisfies you, like this is
That's
I
why. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
that's a good one.
I know Jennifer's. I think Savannah, Georgia,
Mm.
and that was a beautiful experience because for years, tell about Savannah, or are you prepared to, or do you want me to? Because I can
Hold on one
drunk
second.
history it.
No,
Drunk
wait.
history.
I think I got it. I think I got it. Okay, so Jill and I were in Savannah, Georgia, and we did not know this at the time, but there's a thing called the 1909 Axe Murders in Savannah, Georgia. Okay, so there's this house, and this elderly lady named Eliza, it was her house, and her daughter Carrie lived there as well. And they had just rented a room in their house to a woman named Maggie. And then one day in December 1909, all three women were discovered murdered. They had all been chopped with
But
an
like
axe. They'd been
brutally.
attacked brutally with an axe.
Yikes.
And so at the time, it was a sensation in the city, and the police, they determined pretty early on that it was Maggie who was the pivotal person, because she was involved in a love triangle. She had been married and she also had a lover. And so they knew that one of the two men, either, the lover or the husband, was so irate, and he went in and, murdered all of them. And the focus was Maggie, but Eliza and her daughter Carrie happened to be home and therefore were murdered as well.
Oh my gosh.
Well, that didn't sit right with us, and all of the police investigation took that as fact that, Eliza and Carrie were just there,
Mhm.
and Jill and I did a little more digging because it didn't sit. Again, it was like spirit, like knocking, like that's not the whole
not right,
story. That's
yeah.
not the whole story. We found out that Eliza, the elderly woman, and by extension, her daughter Carrie, were known in the community for setting up situations like houses where women could leave and stay there. So women could essentially, if they were battered or in a bad, marriage, they could leave and
I'm
stay
even
with
getting
Eliza.
goosebumps now, just hearing like,
Oh, so
yeah.
So
yeah.
so the murderer specifically targeted Eliza and her daughter because they allowed Maggie to leave her situation.
Yeah.
They
I'm getting
empowered her.
goosebumps too.
I know.
And so once we found that, it brought this light to the whole situation. And we were so proud because for over 100 years, Nobody asked that question. Why did these women die? And it wasn't because they were just in the wrong place at the wrong time. It was because they were empowering women to leave their abusive husbands.
Oh,
Oh my
wow.
gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
And finally, you know, now that's out there. Now we were able to say that, you know, Eliza Gribble, she did that. And thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Wow.
So you guys, that just brought a question to my head. Like you come across these stories, right? So you get a hit, you get in the car, you go, and then you get to these places, and then you figure it out and you take your notes and stuff, and then like you share it on the podcast. But like, then what? Like, do you guys take it a next step? I know you guys might have a book coming out. I know that,
No.
but like, do you take it to the authorities, or do you guys like write? You know, like, do you share the information you guys get, or how does that work?
We share it on our podcast.
Yeah.
And we had a book come out over the summer.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
But
It's a collection of 10 of the stories from our podcast. It's
Okay,
called,
cool.
if I might plug it.
Oh,
Yeah,
Shall
go
I
for
plug
it.
Yeah, of course.
It's called Common Mystics Present Ghosts on the Road, Volume 1, Murders and Mysterious Deaths. It's a really long title. We
It
should
is
have
a really-
shortened it.
It is.
I know, but we fought for that title too. We're like, no, this is the title we're going with. But to answer your question, like, no, like these people are ordinary people. The case was closed. It was forgotten. I think in Eliza's case, the sensation of these murders to locals around Savannah, like they know about it. There was like a paranormal group stationed like nearby where the house was. Now it's gone. But like people are entertained by this woman's death. Not, you know what I mean? Kind of.
Yeah.
So like that situation, like we can say, and we can be like, not cool, Savannah, but
Right.
who's going to listen to us? Like we're psychic podcasters. No one cares.
Right.
Yeah.
There are times when we have reached out to the families. Most of the
Yeah.
time they don't want to talk to us.
No one likes to talk. Like I'll tell you, librarians love talking to us. Librarians,
Researchers.
researchers, historians, the families, not so much.
Really?
Oh, that's
which
interesting.
they don't want to relive trauma. You know what I mean?
We get it.
Yeah, I'm on board with that. And I'm not trying to, but I don't feel like it's fair to put something out without having that feedback. Just to be like, hey, this is about your family. If you want to get
especially
it.
Especially the more recent stories.
The recent ones are uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because you're like, everyone's alive.
Yeah.
So what are your husbands and like, you know, your extended family, like, are they like, all right, you know, because like for us, you know, we podcast and it's every other week, and sometimes I call him he's my man babe, but like he's like, okay, how long are you gonna be podcasting? And you guys actually get in a car and leave, and like, do you take your dogs with you? Like, you know, are you guys, what happens when you're on a family vacation? You know, like I know that you guys have had a couple episodes where that's happened, right? Like you guys have been drawn to something on a family vacation. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like, are they all
we
supportive?
You answer first, Jill.
Well, it's a lot. Well, so we schedule our family vacations around, like we do families vacations around the podcast. So like if we're going to our siblings' house, it's because we're going to podcast on the way there. Like we're going to get our feels on in the car. Okay,
that makes
so
sense.
so they know about it.
Right. We have a sister who lives in New York. We have a sister who lives in Tennessee. We have a brother who lives in Kansas. So we're pretty well.
A sister that lives in Florida too.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I think for the most part,
we're like, yeah.
Our husbands think we're crazy. Number one.
Yeah, my husband does not think I'm a big deal at all. He's like, so he does not care. But I'll tell you, if something like we were just talking about this last night, we had company over for dinner, and he's like, he doesn't believe in the same things that I believe in, obviously, but he believes in me. Right.
Yeah.
So he's a fan as far as like, he loves me, but like, he's not superstitious at all. But if something happens around the house, he'd be like, why your clumsy ass keeps conjuring up some shit? Like, if like
it's your fault. Everything's your fault.
Exactly. Like if a pipe burst in the basement, he's like, I swear to God. Or if like,
the toilet's clogged and it's your spirits.
Well, one time I had like this really scary dream, and I woke up and I was sitting on the couch and he was standing in the kitchen, and I was telling him this really scary dream, and it was scary and it affected him. And then our faucet turned on. So he was like, God damn it, Jill. And I was like, I didn't do it. I was like, tell me my dream. So like, and like, he's a believer in that sense. Like if something happens, he'll acknowledge it, but he's not Like he's not on board with, like, he's not.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Interesting.
He's a
And
civilian.
my husband is, he's also not a believer,
He's a
but
ghost block.
he is a
He's
ghost block.
actively blocks ghosts. Like any
It's
scary
impossible.
situation,
Mhm.
Dennis will like, it's diffused in a second.
Mhm, mhm.
How?
It's true.
Like, how?
It's true.
Like, he just
It's
like,
his presence.
It's his energy. His energy is so like grounded. Like it,
and so a matter of fact, it just takes
Mhm.
it right out. Like we came home from a haunted ass cemetery and had like ghost pictures from a women's prison, and he's like, huh? And I'm like,
wait, he killed the mood.
yeah. I was like, whatever. Now they're just
but he takes care
pictures.
of the dogs. He takes care of the dogs when we're out of town, and Chad takes care of Bug. We used to take Bug when he was a puppy, because
Mhm.
a puppy beagle is
Aw.
welcome everywhere, and people will
Yeah.
stop and talk to you when you have a puppy. But
Right.
but we don't take the
And
dogs on
now-
the road.
Yeah, now Chad, my husband, has taken my dog for himself, and now my 3-year-old Beagle is like an old man. Now he has like old man energy. Like there was a puppy here the other day, and like my Beagle was like, "Nah, I'm over it." And I was like, "You're a puppy still. Play."
Aw.
So yeah,
That's
now I have
so
2
cool.
old men there.
Go
Could I
ahead, Angela.
ask how did you guys even come into podcasting? Like, did you have any experience in any kind of podcasting before, or even just like recording anything? Like, you guys were just like, let's record this, or did the spirits tell you to record?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I had 2 friends independent of each other that wanted to do a podcast with me. And so
Oh.
Jen and I were just doing sister time like we do. I was visiting Jennifer in Chicagoland, and we got in the car and we were doing what we do. And I was like, so-and-so and so-and-so want to do a podcast with me. And Jennifer was like, do you think we can do a podcast? And I was like, oh my God, I would love it. And she goes, I have nothing to say to you.
That's true. I did say that.
That's the exact exchange. So then we're getting our feels on in this little creepy town of Seneca, Illinois, and we stumble on St. Patrick's Church, would happen to be a site of a historic massacre at that location. So that was weird. So we're like, oh, that's something. Then we walk away and we end up in this creepy old cemetery, which is like, the land looks like it's sucking in the gravestones. And as we were walking around the cemetery, we noticed that there was a lot of premature deaths, like a lot. And like, it looked like there was like tragedy after tragedy in this town. So in real time, I'm like Googling Seneca, Illinois tragedy. And Jennifer was like, this is our podcast. So we get our hits, and then we research what we're experiencing, and then we present it on a podcast. And that's how it happened.
I love that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Did you hear that though, Jennifer? Did you hear this is your podcast?
No, I just knew. And then we saw a hawk and 2 baby hawks, which is a Jill's spirit sign for our mother. So as soon as we said that, we saw the 3 hawks, and that's how that was validating, right? That was spirit validating.
Yeah, exactly.
And
That's awesome.
it just so happens that this idea came right at COVID. And COVID was a time when I work in a school. And so school was closed, and we were staying at home. So I suddenly had all of this time on my hands to research how to podcast, how to set up a website, how to record, how to edit. And it was just happenstance that I did have all that time and just researched, and we learned by doing. So
Yeah.
What's funny is that people think that we have a team. They're like, common mystics in the team. I'm like, it's us. It's just us figuring it out.
Were you guys always good at researching in general, like schoolwork and all that stuff? Were you always a good, studious researcher?
I am not good at schoolwork. Like that's a hard no, but I love history. And I also did genealogy, like our dad's side of the family. Long story short, dad's side of the family, hot ass mess. So I had to research, like our dad didn't know his dad, and our dad, and our dad, we say he passed, but he literally like skipped town when I was 9. So we knew nothing about his side of the family. So when I was old enough and I had the means, I just found them and I did all the research. So a lot of like the things that I learned from researching our paternal side of the family, I use in the podcast. And like we have like subscriptions to like Ancestry and newspapers.com and all kinds of things.
Wow. That's awesome.
So cool.
It's amazing when like a passion comes through and how it works so well with something that you're just not used to. Like you said, you weren't a good, good student, but when you find something you're passionate about, you could do everything you want.
Yeah, true.
And just following your no, you're good. Just following your calling, and just understanding who you are as a person and just like going with it. Go ahead, Gabby. What were you gonna say?
So because while your grandma was alive, she didn't really talk about any of this, but since she's passed, has she given you her blessing?
Oh my gosh, in so many ways. Yeah. You tell. Go first.
No, you.
So my grandma, she's super cute. She's like, my relationship with my family on the other side literally is an ongoing relationship. It feels like I still have my mother. It's like, do I want her alive in Chicago? Sure, I would love that. But for whatever reason, her passing has opened up, it like unleashed her love and impact on my life, where she doesn't have to be in Chicago. Now she's with me all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know that with my grandma too. And case in point, I had gotten a kitten in 2016. And I have been posting pictures of like me and my kitten. And so my grandma like came to me and was showing me like being ridiculous with with a cat in my mind's eye. And I was like, oh, that's so funny. Like she was making fun of me because I'm ridiculous taking all these cat pictures. That, and they're really supportive when we're scared. Like when I'm scared the most, like mom and grandma and Jeannie and grandpa are all around me, that I feel like I'm insulated, but it's like that kind of stuff.
Wow.
They're part of our team. We call on them very intentionally for help with it, especially at the beginning. Mom and our grandmother and our grandpa and our aunt who passed as well, because so I just look at them as, just part of our team, and they're constantly sending us validation and leading us and guiding us. And just, this is hard. It's like a job on top of a job.
Yeah.
And so if I didn't have that spiritual validation from the people who loved me the most when, they were alive, I don't know that I would keep doing it.
She 100% would not keep doing it.
No,
like I'm like really worried about, like, honestly, like it's a thing. Like I am a recycling broker. So I have kind of my own schedule, and I like make appointments and like whatever. I've always worked remote. So I don't have to go anywhere. Like, yes, I'm in the car for long days when I'm like going around, looking at trash and like creating commodities. But like Jennifer has a set schedule where she has to be somewhere. And it worries me how much she's in the car and all the drama, because schools nowadays are not the schools of our generation.
No,
like they're just not.
No.
No, they're not.
No.
So yes, so she's supportive. She's part of the spirit team that's supportive and is constantly leading us on and cheering us on and guiding us to the stories, but also to keep doing this. And I'll say something else. Oh, go ahead.
I just want to say what's cute about grandma and mom, and like specifically, I was going to say specifically, but then all of them have like, there are people that listen to the podcast or that know us that call our Aunt Jeannie to them, that call our grandma to them, that call our mother to them. So like strangers will be like, oh, your Aunt Jeannie, da, 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 da. Or like Jennifer's, someone Jennifer works with had an experience where she knew our grandmother had intervened on her behalf and had told Jennifer about it. Yeah. So it feels like we're sharing them with the world, quite literally, which is funny because I feel like I was my mom's favorite. There's a lot of controversy around that, but I always like, even when she was dying, people were coming to the hospital being like, oh, Stella, we're so close. And I wanted to be like, okay, bye now. But like in death, like there's so much love from her. Like it feels like people are able to tap in to just naturally loving that person's mom was. Yeah.
I loved your episode about your aunt. Like, I thought that was just like, it was just so telling on like your, like just your different personalities and like your sisterhood and your family. And it just kind of really gave like a bird's eye view into just like I felt like I was in your family room, and I felt like I was
Oh.
laying down on a pillow, spread
Aw,
out.
Thank
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it was really an intimate podcast. Because a lot of times your other podcasts are set up entirely different.
Yeah.
You're going on a
Right.
road trip, and then you're sharing all this like information, and then your hits along with it that's sprinkled into it. So that was like a really neat podcast.
Oh,
Oh,
thank
I have a
you.
question.
Yeah, go
Sorry.
ahead. No, you're okay.
Have you guys ever gone international?
Oh, that's
oh
a
my
good question.
So we're on the radio in the UK. We do something called the Boo Review in partnership
Oh.
with Access Paranormal. It's something that we would love to do, but like right now, and please make this change, but right now we work around Jennifer's school schedule. So to
Yeah.
find time to like travel, but I'm sure something's going to happen in the future where we don't have to be tethered
We-
to that schedule.
We also have friends in Canada. And
Ooh.
we have a
Okay.
big following in Australia.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
that's
So
so
Ireland.
Ooh.
who knows?
Yeah, and
So
Ireland.
maybe one day, we'd definitely be open to it.
That'd be so fun.
That's so cool.
How far have you guys gone in the United States? Like, I mean, I know you've done Illinois, and you had mentioned
Midwest area.
I would
Yeah.
say Tucson. We went from
Ooh.
we went
Yeah, we were in
Tucson,
Arizona.
Utah, and then all the
Mhm.
way to Savannah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, so we're around. We have on our website, we have a
A
map.
map, yeah.
Yeah, that an interactive map so you can kind of zone in on where we went. I'm not sure if it's updated because we've been busy, but
Do you guys
It mostly
fly?
is. We haven't been to the West Coast yet.
Okay.
We haven't been to the West Coast.
Do you fly there and then rent a car and drive, or do you like literally drive all the way over?
Usually we drive because then we can get stuff along the way to the destination.
Mhm.
But we flew to Arizona, we flew to
flew to-
Utah.
Mhm.
You were just
Yeah.
talking about the vortexes before you guys came
Yeah,
on.
in Sedona. Yeah.
Yeah.
We were just talking about
We were
vortexes.
just apparently there are vortexes in Wisconsin. Okay, so we did a episode on Devil's Lake, Wisconsin. And it is a really different sort of place because it's this beautiful nature preserve, but Jill and I were picking up on intense energies. We were picking up on murder, but also like this underlying like racial issues with the
Wow.
native peoples in the area.
There was a lot of we were at a park, literally a park. And it was on a spring day, and people are walking around quiet, like it was whispered, like it was like a
Yeah,
very
like hushed.
reverent space. And that like when we say on the podcast, like things are different, things are off, like we have to really take, because we had to stop and be like, what is different about this?
Yeah,
and it's like
it's hard to
everyone
explain.
was whispering. Everyone felt like you
Hmm.
weren't in a church. There was
Yeah.
something sacred, and everyone was picking up on it. Even the animals, like
Yeah.
we had Bug with us, right? The
Yeah.
animals were so well behaved. Everyone was in like a single file line when we were walking on like the boardwalk. It was very interesting.
But I bring it up because this guy who's a photographer listened to this episode, and he was in Devil's Lake, and he shot the photos of a vortex, and you can see it. It looks like it looks like the scenery is in a swirl. Like I'd
Wow.
never seen anything like it. And just before we got on this call, we answered his email asking, because he invited us to come up and he would show us exactly where he shot, the
Ooh.
photograph of that vortex.
Oh, wow, that's
But we're
cool.
not going to be able to make it this fall, even though we'd really want to, just because we're so busy. But funny you
Yeah.
should be talking about vortexes, and we were just emailing a guy about vortexes.
Oh my
Jennifer,
God.
I'm
Oh
gonna
my
just say
gosh,
it.
it's a
Just
sign.
forget about the kids. Forget about the kids. They're
They'll be
lost
fine.
cause.
Get a
They're lost
sub.
cause at this point.
Get a sub.
Just go find the vortexes.
Yeah. If you're
Just
the
the vortexes.
yeah, if you're the principal, just get someone to sub for you, or get a sub for your kids. You'll be fine. They'll be fine.
All right.
I agree with them.
I'll put both of you in my resignation note.
Oh,
Jocelyn
yeah.
and Angela said
Yeah, no,
I'll
no.
call.
to follow the vortexes.
I'll write a letter.
Okay, well, I have one fun question I want to just bring up. It's just like a fun little thing. Who was your childhood hero? Yeah. So we always
Oh
have
my
like a fun
God.
little question. I feel like you
Ooh.
guys already answered that though. Like really with your family members that are sort of on the other side looking out over your shoulder.
Did I have a childhood hero?
Yeah, it could be anything or anybody.
I feel like Jill's was herself.
Honestly, it was probably my mom, but I didn't want to get all cheesy. I was such a mama's girl. Like
Yeah.
She
mom
was a
my
mama's girl.
She was like
Yeah.
my son. Like I could like she
Okay.
couldn't like leave the house without me being like, Mama. Like literally I was one of those.
Well, you are the youngest, right? So
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
kind of
Mama's
goes along
girl.
with
Yeah.
like, yeah. What about you, Jennifer?
Well, I was going to say Wonder Woman, but
Me
Jill got all
too.
serious.
Really?
Yes.
I loved Wonder
I
Woman.
did too. Yeah.
But I mean, I just love that she was beautiful and strong.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
there wasn't a lot of that then, those
Yeah.
figures. But I was really close to my grandmother.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't know that I would have called her my hero. Even in life, people who met my grandmother would just comment on her energy, and that any space surrounding my grandmother felt safe and peaceful.
Mm,
And she was my rock,
yeah.
So whenever anything went wrong in my life, I always called my grandma or, went to her house. So
Yeah.
But in
definitely she
addition
was
to
important.
that, we do identify Elvis as being our father. He literally helped raise us. It's so
like
true.
that. Write
He was
your own
always
story.
around. He was always
Yeah,
on
he
TV.
was always
or
on the TV,
radio.
always.
love
Who
that.
else? What like Maria von Trapp. She was a good role model.
All right.
She was a mother
just-
figure to us. Yeah.
Yes.
So we were raised on VHS tapes. So,
Yes, I
Yeah.
was too. Yeah.
Yeah.
my mom wasn't home, but there was always movies on the TV. So
And when we were losing our cable because she couldn't afford it anymore, she recorded literally over 1,000 movies.
Wow.
So as a
Wow.
kid, and truly, I would randomly just pick a box and put it on, and I would watch movies. And that's
most
why
of the time they were grossly inappropriate.
they were. I was watching
Right.
the worst things. I was like watching Jaws at 3 years
Me
old.
too.
Oh, wow.
I was
Yes.
I was watching Jaws too. I'm like, how old was I? I was really young watching Jaws. Like, I would never let my 10-year-old watch Jaws.
I know. Even
Come on.
Grease.
Yeah,
I was
that
like, I was like, we were singing these songs in front of our father.
Right.
Like parent much? Like, what are you doing?
I
Anyway,
know.
but
it's so different. It's just
Yeah,
it was just a
different.
different day and age. So, Gabby, do you guys? Who was your hero? Do you want to just chime
Oh,
in?
Oh, I thought you meant my question. My
No,
hero.
not yet. Next.
No, I think when I was little, it was my PE teacher.
Okay.
Aw.
All right.
Yeah, she was really
Angela?
cool and motivated us.
Angela?
I don't know. I'd probably say my mom. She was also a single mom, 4 children as well.
Oh,
And
wow.
one of those children wasn't even her,
Wow.
so she was taking care of a lot of kids.
Yeah.
And same kind of thing, always
Yeah.
having to work and the little things that we had to get through life, and she made it happen. So
Yeah.
I'd probably say my mom. But I do want a
Aw.
fictional character now. Like Wonder Woman's great, but like
Yeah.
there has to be more. There's more. I know there is.
Yeah, I mean, fictional character for me, it was Mulan when it came out.
Mulan, that's a good one. I
Oh,
like
that's a good
Mulan.
It's a good
one.
one.
That is a good one.
She really, put that Bob on the map for sure.
Yeah. Gabby, do you want to ask the final question?
Yes. Yes. What would you say to a younger version of yourself before you stepped into your creative or intuitive path?
Gosh, I believe part of my psychic work is going back to my younger self. And so I really believe so I do that constantly, but like as a healing of trauma situation. And I'm always like, hang in there, kid.
Yeah.
It's gonna work out is
Yeah.
basically my message. Just like it's gonna be okay.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I think the message would be don't worry so much. There's really nothing to worry about. There's nothing to be afraid of. There's nothing to worry about. Just fall into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think
That's
that's like
beautiful.
yeah, that's pretty powerful. So Angela, do you want to ask the final question? Like how do they want to like share all their information?
Yeah, let us know. I know you guys have, Patreon and all the good stuff. So yeah, let us know where we can find you everywhere.
I just want to say this real quick, and I brought it up and I forgot to follow up on it. Part of the way that you discern between like your psychic self and your ego self is that spirit can only use what you know. So it's your circle of reference that spirit uses to communicate with you. So part of my circle of reference are those old VHS movies. So if I have a old Christopher Reeve movie in my head and I can't understand why I'm thinking about Somewhere in Time, then that is a breadcrumb, or that is a message that's meant for me. So it is important to realize, like, what do you know about? Are you readers? Are you, what are you consuming? What is in that circle of reference? And then pay attention to what you're thinking and when. And those are the keys to unlock, because spirit is always on for everyone. It's just you being like, oh, that's my psychic self. And the more you honor it, it's like a path that you develop in the grass. The more it's there and you're like, oh, there you are, the easier it is to find and to continue to build. So I just want to say that.
No, that's great. You know, going back to Gabby's question, like, what would you tell yourself, your younger self, is, for me at least, like, I have really clung on to this idea of just responding to things that I'm hearing, you know, like, you know, when I hear, just do it, Angela, call that person, you know, try it. Like, instead of pushing myself back, you know, responding to yourself, you know, let it happen, let that thing, those things happen. So yeah, I think that's a great point. So yeah. I love that.
I love that. And now you can know that's your psychic self. So when you get that, now you can be like, oh, girl, thank you.
Yeah.
Like, thank you.
I do it all the time. And I'm just like, is that me? Am I answering my own self, or is somebody else here with me? Like, I couldn't never really define that. But it's great to know that, like, when you're hearing that stuff, or when it's referencing certain things, or if you're getting that confirmation with another sense, you know, like, those I'm really going to start really digging for now, because, like, I catch things, but I'm not sure, you know? So it's like, but, you know, having all of this little information, I think that's really gonna, you know, start sparking some stuff with me. So I really appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Well, follow up and let us know how it changed.
Yeah,
Because what you're saying is you're a natural clairaudient, is what you're saying, if you're hearing the voices. So when you hear the voice, then what does it mean to you? How do you feel about it? Like, and just like note those kind of things. And then you'll be like, it unlocks this whole different dimension of what you're experiencing.
Totally.
Before, it was just like, Angela, go ahead and do it. And now it's like, girl on the other side is coming through with some messages, and I'm saying this and I'm feeling this. And then you can understand and interpret, not just that they got you, but what they're trying to say and what you're like, what direction they're trying to give you, other than just do it.
And I'm sorry, I know we're like running on time, but like spirit or like angel numbers, like, all the time, and it's freaking me out. So like, that's another, you know, confirmation, I assume, that, you know, I really have to sit down and backtrack my thoughts and figure out, what was I thinking about when I seen this number or whatever. So oh wow, you guys give me a lot to think about.
Two things. And you know, we're doing these classes, we're writing this curriculum on how to develop your senses. Two things that keep coming up that are very powerful: one, meditation, and two, journaling. So if you don't meditate, just start, even in short moments, try to get with that voice, right? There is a voice there. Try to make time and space for that voice to come through, maybe visually, right? To meet you, right? And then two, journal about the experiences you have, and not only that, how they come through and what's happening in your life, because that's the context for the message. So pay attention to where you are. What is your headspace? What is your emotional state when you get this information? Because it's not an accident that it's coming through then, right? So pay attention to all that.
One question though, I have like, I see feathers everywhere all of a sudden. And then like, I'm also having like itchy senses where I like feel like I need to go to the dermatologist, like my skin, like it'll just pop out of nowhere. Like, do you guys ever get like physical senses, or like see, like, I know you guys see signs, like obviously, like, you know, is that like that's real? That's like,
It is.
So the feather,
that's
feathers, pennies, usually, we just talked about this. Spirit has, we went over this: energy, animals, metal, minerals. Like, they have a certain, like, there's like 5 things that they use to get your attention. And so feathers would definitely be in that. Usually when I'm feeling something, there's 2 different ways. Just like there's 2 different ways to see something. You can see it in your mind's eye, or you can see it out of the corner of your eyes. It's the same thing with clairsentience, which is the clair feelings. Like, you can either feel it, like sometimes I can feel, like, I was doing a reading the other day and I felt pain, like an irritation in my throat, and the woman had esophagus cancer. So like that kind of stuff, like you feel it. It feels like it's not like it's happening to me, but it's like an impression of how it would feel to get me to understand in a way that I can communicate, if that makes sense. But I would still go to the dermatologist just
Yeah,
to, go to the dermatologist.
I mean, I live in Florida, so I have to go to the
There you go.
dermatologist.
But Jocelyn, what you're doing is you're aware. You're aware of your surroundings and you're seeing these signs. But what I haven't heard you say is that you are like activating your role in this situation. So ask, why are you seeing feathers? Ask either in meditation, pray on it. I don't know if you're a praying person, but put that out there and ask. And you can also set up a framework to have answers. So one of the things that Jill and I have done is if we want an answer to a question, like, I don't know, should I buy a car, for instance, you can set up a framework and say, okay, send me 3 hawks by Saturday, if I should buy this car. Right. So you can sort of give the parameters to assist spirit if they're trying to tell you something. Okay. But the very first thing is to ask.
Yeah. Just saying it.
Yeah. Okay. That's good.
Question about the whole sign situation. Sorry.
No.
Is there signs that are just out of the question? Like if I told spirits to send me a puppy and a diaper, like could that happen?
Yeah,
is that too much, or should I stick with like send me 3 feathers?
Well, I would say this: if you say,
I just want definite signs. That's what I'm trying to do here.
Yeah. So if you're like, I need to see a puppy in a diaper by next Saturday, you could see that on the side of a truck. You could see it in a commercial. So don't expect like a puppy to like walk up with you with a diaper and like, you know what I mean? But
it could happen. It's not out of the realms.
Right.
No,
or you can see a puppy eating a diaper. You know what I mean? Like something like that.
Okay.
So be open to what that looks like. We set the framework up, but we don't know in what way spirit is going to take that and manifest, right? And that's part of the struggle with being psychic, is that we think we know what we want and we throw it out there and then it comes in a completely different way. And we're like, well, goddamn, I wasn't expecting that.
Right.
It's the same thing with the podcast.
Yeah. And it's the idea of being open to these things that
aware.
even if it's not exactly the way you thought it was going to be, you have to be aware of it. And it can come in so many different forms. So
ask the question.
Ask the question.
Right.
Ask the question. This is not an observe. Like, you guys are participating in this. You are part of a relationship with spirit. It is not a spectator sport. You can pick up the phone and call someone just as easy as someone can send you a feather. And I say that a lot, like so many times, especially when people are grieving, they're like, I want da 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 da. I'm like, but you can send loving awareness anytime, all day long. And that awareness makes those connections. So just by saying like, hi grandma, I love you in your head, then my grandma's is focusing on me and I can feel that energy. Right. So it's just, you don't have, it's not a spectator sport. Like you can say, this is what I want. This is what I need. This is what I think I need. You can help me out there. Give me some clarity, something to that nature.
Gosh, I have another question. Sorry.
Oh, no, it's good. One more.
So you guys are so lucky to have, such a great upbringing and have each other and have.
I don't know if it was great.
Well, I mean, as far as like,
listen to Judy episode. That was fucking hilarious.
I mean, as far as like being able to express yourselves and understand where these ideas are coming from and things like that, I personally don't have I wouldn't say anybody I trust on the other side. Like I have people on the other side. I just don't know them very well. And I've never would, go to them for help in the normal world. So like, who would I try to call on instead? Like, do I
your ancestors specifically? If I would go to you, I would go to like, and this is a psychic thing. This isn't Jill brain, but I'm feeling like your mom's side of the family has a lot of spiritual connections to the other side. And I feel like if you looked at like archives or family pictures, a lot of work Jennifer and I do for people is read pictures and images. It's like having their phone number. You don't have to know them in this life to be connected to them. So just like going over and feel who you're drawn to in the family photo album and be like, let me learn more about her and or him and try to figure out how you guys fit together and how you feel about that person, because their energy is still with you and still part of your family.
Right. Totally. And, like the same thing is like, I didn't know my father's side. So
Mm.
trying to figure out all that stuff. And my grandfather was adopted. So trying to figure out all of his native
Oh
stuff.
gosh.
And, there's a lot of missing pieces. Like,
Generational stuff. Yeah.
I just don't know
Mhm.
who I would run to if I
Yeah.
needed that connection
Mhm.
from the other side. So, I will do that. I will definitely go through and see who I'm kind of gravitating towards, I guess.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, and
Wow.
Jill was feeling that psychically that ancestors is the way to go. But just to anybody asking this question, ancestors, but
Yeah.
also angels, if that resonates with you, other
Mhm.
religious figures, the saints,
Mhm.
other deities
Oh,
outside of Catholicism. What,
a lot of
Jen?
times when I'm doing creative work, like either for work or for the podcast, I call on random people that I admire that are on the other side. Like Jen and I we're writing the book. I was calling on Nora Ephron. I was like, girl, I need you.
I
Like,
love
come
that.
in on this. Like, just
Yeah.
call in that energy to who you want that you admire. Really.
Yeah. Cool.
That
I
makes
love
Mhm.
it.
sense.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, with that being said, I need more information. So I need to
Yeah.
find, your Patreon, all, the all the
All the
links. Let me know
things.
them all.
So you can check out our website, commonmystics.net. You can find us on all our socials at Common Mystics Pod. We're on Apple and wherever you're hearing your favorite podcasts. Did I miss
And
anything?
Patreon.
We're on
Patreon.
Patreon.
Need more
Ju-
about the Patreon.
Yeah.
Jen,
That's
what
for
do
me.
What's that? I'm sorry, I missed it.
tell Angela about the Patreon or different tiers where you can sign up?
We have different tiers on Patreon. We have 4 different tiers. At the lowest tier, you're just, giving us like a couple bucks a month and you're supporting us. At $5 a month, we do a detours episode, which is about
I heard
15
about
minutes.
that. Yeah.
After every episode, we have an extra chat about our experience or something related to that episode. So those are the detours. And then at tier 3, we also have a longer episode that has been focused on the clairs. So we did like a 45 minute episode on clairvoyance or clear seeing, clairaudience or clear hearing, clairsentience, so we're going through the clairs right now. And that is a monthly pod at that tier 3. And then at tier 4, they get that, but then you also get that monthly Zoom, an hour long with Jen and Jill. And we do activities, we have discussions, and it's all about creating that safe place to really exercise your abilities, because everybody has abilities, and we start with just being aware, and then we take control, and then hopefully we end up in that place where we're truly communicating with the spirits on the other side.
But really the tier 4 Patreon group for me, like we're developing friendships. Like these are really special people that we're also mentoring, but we're learning from too.
Yeah.
So we have this woman and like, I'm not sure why she's giving us money every month, because I feel like, do you want the mic? Like, because you feel like you're pretty advanced, like, kind of thing, but we're just having a fun time. And it's good to make those connections so that you can find activities and like-minded people to further develop your clairs or your
Exactly.
awareness of your clairs.
Yeah.
And that's just
Definitely.
important in general in life. You know what I'm saying? And anything that you're doing, to find connection and community and to like allow yourself to just be creative. And whether it's a passion project or a hobby, or you turn it into something that like brings you livelihood. So I think that's really cool that you guys are doing that. Thank you for
Yeah.
coming on.
So
Oh my
I've, like,
God.
fun.
Thank you for
so
having
Ladies are
us.
lovely. Thank
I know.
you.
I'm
for
so
the
jealous of your
lovely.
room.
Who, mine?
John's?
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah,
you
Joss.
want? That's not
Yeah.
fair.
This is my
We'll flip it.
closet.
That's your
I
closet.
love it.
It's like, it's my little fort. I hide from all my people behind the door. Yeah. So this is my fort. So
Amazing. We need to do
thank
that,
you.
Jill.
We
Yeah,
need a
you
fort.
need a fort.
We
You
need a
for sure
fort.
need
You
a
need a
fort.
fort.
A common
was
mystics
so-
fort.
It was so nice meeting you guys. Thank you so much for having us.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming on.
Hang tight for 1 second. Yeah,
Bye.
thank you. I'm hitting record.
Another question.
Way to
well-
help my production.
Sorry,
Thanks, Jill. Thanks, Jill.
I was
Wow.
looking at her. I was like, I know there's
No,
more.
I knew you've been.
There's a
I
whole
could see
bunch.
it. Go ahead. Let me guess.
Like
Go
every
ahead,
time
Gabby.
you had a comment, I was like, oh, I want to ask this. Oh, now I want to ask that. Now I want to ask them to come over. Because right now I live in Merida, Yucatan, which is in Mexico. And I have a friend here who like works with energies and angels. And every time she goes to an ancient site, she's like, it's just overwhelming. So it would be interesting for you guys to come down here and go to an ancient site and see what energy comes up, because it's not and she says that it's not all negative. It's a lot of the times it's very beautiful, it's very powerful, but not necessarily in a negative way.
No, for sure. When I travel, just like for our personal life, what's really throws me off, like I went to Chichen Itza. Am I saying it right? Chichen Itza?
Chichen Itza.
Kind of.
Chichen Itza, yeah. A little adjacent, but like with the other people, that's what throws me off. Like when there's too many people, I would love to go to Chichen Itza with like no one but like me and Jen and you guys. You know what I mean? Like if we like
6 a.m.
Exactly. Like to have those experiences. But I think for your friend specifically, all I can like when I hear you say that is like, I just feel like she should just pray to honor them. Like I see you, like the divine in me sees the divine in you. We know you're here. You know, your impact is still felt here, and just let them know like, yes. And don't follow me home.
Yeah. Don't
Stay
follow me
there.
home.
That's the one.
That's
That's the
amazing.
sentence we need.
So what I heard was an invitation to go to Mexico.
That's what I heard
Yes,
too.
of
Heard that
course.
too.
Up at Gabriella's house.
Come over if you need. Yeah,
Oh, I would love
Let's
it.
let's do it.
Did you have any
We
more
we
share
have
a
guest
room.
rooms.
Yeah, we share a room. I am afraid to sleep anywhere without.
And I'll
like,
sleep on the floor. I'm fine. I'll sleep on the floor.
That would be awesome. I need all of you guys here.
Yeah.
All right, we'll set it up.
Yeah, February.
Gabby, did you have any other questions?
Right now, no, they kind of like escaped. I'm sorry.
They disappeared.
No, you're good.
They
No, play
dissipated.
with it. Just play with it. And then like, let us know how you're doing. Let us know if anything changes. Angela, I'm looking at you. Like send us an email and let us know. Like,
Thank
because
you.
us.
it's fun. It's fun when you watch people be like, oh, this whole time I've been putting this in the logic box. It's like, no, this is illogical psychic stuff. And once you unlock that, you're like, oh my God, where have I been? Like, it's like someone turned on a light for you. So I'm excited to see how you utilize this information and play. It's a lot of fun.
It is exciting. It's exciting because you start thinking of stuff and you're just like, man, this would make a lot more sense if this was just, you know, a little bit more grasp, like if I can grasp it a little bit more. So yeah, I'm excited. Thank you so much for just the little tidbits too. So I'm definitely going to go and check out Patreon and all that stuff too, because I need some answers.
And your
and read
ancestors.
to practice, watch mystery shows, because like you can like, you know what's going to happen. Like any psychic watching a show, you're like screaming, what are you doing?
All the time.
And I go to the correctionals, like the state of Michigan corrections, and I read the mugshots and then I scroll to see like,
ooh, that sounds fun.
That's creepy,
I know.
Jill.
Sounds really
probably
fun.
not right. I'm just saying, if you need a brush up on people, you know, and you get the validation. Just saying.
As long as I don't fall in love with one of those inmates, I'm okay.
Oh my God. She'll be baking cakes with files.
Spirits all, no.
Too funny. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Thank you. I really appreciate you guys coming on.
Yeah, thank you so
Thank
much.
you
Thank
too.
you.
Bye, girls.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.
Have a great night.
You
You
too.